That and the rest of the sport. Let's go back to Silverstone and Jonathan Park.
Well, Stuart, Silverstone's waiting, of course, to find out if it still has a chance of hosting an event in motorsport's top competition. Well, Northampton Saints started life in European Rugby's premier competition this season with a bang, with a fine win, a 31-27 win against Munster. James Burridge reports.
This wasn't your typical rugby match at Franklin's Gardens. Munster were in town, and they brought half of Limerick with them.
We think we're going to win it today. All the boys were in the hotel we were in last night, looking good. Form is good, humour is good, so I think we'll do it.
Tonight's a big test to see basically whether we can compete with the big boys. Munster are obviously one of the best teams in Europe, and we want to see if we can compete with them. Hopefully we can do.
The game was sold out weeks ago, and as kick-off drew near, the atmosphere intensified. And it was the Saints who took the initiative. After an early penalty, Shane Geraghty's chip left Munster's defence in tatters, and Chris Ashton to score unopposed. Munster came back into the game with this try from British Lion David Wallace, but it was Geraghty who stole the headlines. His audacious try caught everyone by surprise just before half-time. And this sumptuous break in the second half allowed Ashton to bag the Saints' third try, sending the Gardens into meltdown. But back came Munster, and this try from scrum half Thomas O'Leary brought them within a point. It was Geraghty and the Saints, though, who had the last laugh. This penalty and a rock-solid last-minute defensive effort saw them home and record a remarkable victory.
I'm really pleased with how far we've come. You know, we come from the First Division, we got then into Premiership last season, and for us to go and beat Munster, who only 2 years ago won the Heineken Cup, I think is a massive achievement.
There's no rest for the Saints, though. On Friday, they travel to play the French champions, Perpignan, in another gruelling encounter. James Burridge, BBC Look East, Northampton.
Tremendous result then for the Saints, and no losers on Look East here tonight because we had 3 winners in football's League One, all by single goal margins, and it's very tight at the top. They're now in the top 6. We had Colchester beating Leyton Orient by a single goal to nil. Lady Boothroyd remains unbeaten at Colchester. MK Dons beat Walsall. Jermaine Easter with his 9th goal of the season. And Norwich beat Carlisle. Wes Houlihan in the right place at the right time. You can see all those goals on the BBC Sport website when you get a chance to look. Back to you in the studio.
Jonathan, thank you very much. Now, you may not know the name Chrissie Wellington, but she's a world champion. She lives in Norfolk, and yesterday she won the Ironman world title for the 3rd time in a row. Not bad for a woman.
In doing so, she
I mean, because it says Ironman, that's what I mean.
In doing so, she set a new course record in Hawaii, and she hasn't ruled out going for gold in the London Olympics.
Picture Hawaii. For some, it means surf. For others, something rather less relaxing. It's the birthplace of Ironman and home to the World Championships. Norfolk now boasts a 3-time champion. 9 hours of agony for 1 moment to savour.
There's a whole mixture of emotions, from joy, elation, immense pride, and of course relief.
Ironman is basically triathlon times 4. 2.4 miles in the water, 112 miles on 2 wheels, a marathon to finish. Then the blisters kick in.
It's like the Olympics for endurance athletes. It's the pinnacle of every Ironman athlete's dream. There's about 70 professional women, 70 professional men, and then about 1,300 amateurs that take part.
At home in Feltwell, Chrissie sacrifices 6 hours a day, 7 days a week to get in shape. Active growing up, now 32, and reaping the rewards.
I'm now crowned world champion for the 3rd time, and that's something that I'm immensely proud of.
She says her best is yet to come, maybe the Olympic triathlon at London 2012. Let's hope so. Tom Williams, BBC Look East.
Amazing achievement. Now, we're having a bit of a celebration this month because it's 50 years since local television news came to this region.
First on the air was BBC East. John Cranston has been looking back at how it all began.
And away you go.
1959 was the year that brought us the Mini and a nice new M1 to drive it along, and another Conservative government under Harold Macmillan.
Yes, and 1959 was the year that BBC TV East hit the airwaves.
Who was that? In the late 50s, there was just the one BBC channel, and a lot of the time it looked like this. There'd been regional radio news for several years from the BBC's old studios in Norwich, but in 1959 the place was finally wired up for TV, and our first newsreader was Geoffrey Harvey, who came with the requisite public school accent.
The store was well and truly opened by Mr. Pastry. The bathing beauties were competing for the title of Miss Battle of Britain 1960. Eyes front there.
Also a newsreader was the rather less public school Ralph Tuck.
And to those of you who've especially requested to hear again, they're all playing dummies in the bar.
Well, the BBC was a bit starchy in those days. I mean, regional accents were out. They had a written complaint in, and so it was all hell let loose. And so they removed him because of his Norfolk accent.
In fact, his sacking made it into the Times, and he was eventually reinstated by popular demand. What viewers got at first was a nightly 10-minute news bulletin. A news magazine programme came a few years later, with reporters. Some of the people who worked on the programme seem never quite to have got over it.
My name is Martin Bell, and I used to work for Look East.
It was a long time ago. I'm Martin Bell, and I was the first reporter on Look East in 1963, when Look East began.
And I was its first reporter. I was dreadful. But the good thing is they've lost all the archives, so the evidence has disappeared.
And sadly that's true, because much of the earliest years of Look East was either never recorded or ended up in a skip. But tomorrow we'll bring you some more of what does survive from the BBC's half-century in the East.
And as they say here, happy birthday, you all.
The other bloke looked good. The weather.
Yep, dry in the east and dry in the west, but this cloud has just given one or two showers during today. From now onwards, it's going to be pretty thin, shouldn't trouble us too much more, but it will be, I think, patchy cloud tonight in the east of the region, which is going to give that side of the region higher temperatures. In the west, lower temperatures down to 3 or 4 Celsius, just low enough for a touch of frost on the grass tomorrow morning, maybe a little bit of ice on the roof of your car, but otherwise a fine night and a fine start to tomorrow. For the high, will still be there. The high is going to give everywhere just about a dry day. More sunshine in the west than in the east. Just possible late in the day, that cloud thickening up enough again in the east of Norfolk and Suffolk to give the odd light shower. 13 or 14 Celsius isn't a bad look to the temperatures. The high pressure stays with us, really, and it just migrates slowly northwards, but overall dominates the weather, so a lot of fine, dry weather. Just when we get the breeze coming down the North Sea, you're going to find a bit more cloud there. So Wednesday looks like a cloudier day. It looks as though on Thursday we're going to be back in brighter weather. 1 or 2 more outbreaks of rain turning up on Friday there as well. Nothing too windy until you get towards the end of the week. All of this means the nighttime temperature's not as low as tonight's, the lowest being about 6 degrees Celsius there. That's 43 degrees Fahrenheit.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed. That's it from all of us here. Thanks for your company this evening. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Goodbye.
Good night.